Okay, good morning again, everyone. I'd like to welcome you again to our Family Ministries training this morning. And those of you who are leaders, I'm here with my wife, Delabon. She is assisting me. I am the director for Family Ministries, Pastor Francis, and Delabon is doing this voluntarily, but just assisting me because we do a lot of family stuff together anyway. And it's really good to have her with me today. And it's good that you could join us this morning. I will get you to introduce yourselves a little bit. But before we begin, we're going to just start with a little devotion, as some others are joining soon. So let us just bow our heads together for prayer, and then I'm just going to share a few things with you guys. Shall we just bow our heads together? Oh, gracious Father, Lord, we just want to thank you again for bringing us together this morning. I want to thank you for the calling on each of our lives and for the privilege we have of serving you in this department, because, Lord, families are a vital component of our church. If the family is strong, the church is strong. I just want to pray, Lord, that you give each of us the spirit of grace to empower our individual churches and situations, and be with each of our families across our conference as we learn together, as we grow together, and help us to become those families and people you want us to be. So we ask these things now in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So I guess, I don't know how many of you are new here, but I guess from a perspective of family, when you look at or consider families, we have to go back to the very beginning, don't we? When we talk about families. And Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 reminds us of, I guess, the beauty of families and also the significance of our family as it relates to how God sees us, really, as God sees us, you know, from a creation point of view. And right in the beginning, you know, God established, didn't he? He established families. And there were three institutions, I believe, that God gave us right from Genesis 1. And those were marriage, it was family, and it was Sabbath. And these are really fundamental, I believe, for our understanding of relationships. These gifts are rooted and grounded in the creation story. And they kind of offer, as if it were, maybe a kind of framework for understanding our purpose. They give us a basis for fostering relationships, and also, most of all, our connection with God. If you think about it, when Adam and Eve sinned, the very first thing they said is God came looking for them, didn't he? And remember that first passage where God comes looking for Adam and he asked the question, where are you? It's about relationship, and part of family is to connect us back with each other, and most of all, to connect us with God. And the marriage union of a man and woman basically reflects the image of God, and reflects love, and reflects, basically, I guess, our humanity. And there's a passage here in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. I'm sure we're familiar with that. It says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become what the Bible says, one flesh. This sacred bond really serves as a foundation, I believe, for family life. It symbolizes really Christ's relationship with his church. And as Seventh-day Adventists, we, I guess, affirm the sanctity of marriage and its role in our nurturing of our love, our nurturing of companionship, our nurturing of spiritual growth. All of these things come together through this foundation which God has really set up. And I guess also that family also continues to be the place where human beings receive the most comfort, and sometimes, sadly, also pain in their lives. And it's important that we look at family as, I guess, from a holistic point of view. But primarily, I guess for those of you who may be new to family ministries, I would like you to understand that family ministries really is not only being created by God, but it's the center for discipleship. It's the center where we nurture one another, where we give each other guidance, where we show each other love, affections, and so many other things. Because guess what? Satan is attacking our homes. And because of that, we need to be more than ever before uplifting the Spirit of God. And something I've said recently in the part of the promotion for the Christian Home and Marriage Week is I believe that we need to fortify our homes in prayer and study of God's word and strengthen those family units. That's something God is calling each of us as leaders to do. And part of the, I guess, vision or theme behind what we are sharing today is that family worship, I guess, is vital because it gives us the opportunity to rebuild the family altar. You know, it used to be said as Adventists, we was the church what prays together. You know, the story is that the church what prays together stays together. But we need to rekindle that family worship and make it a time when we can bring those families together and find that time that we can do that, because that is what is going to really strengthen our homes. And the questions that have been asked is, how can we teach our children and families to worship God and rebuild that altar in the sense of the message that we hold, which is the Elijah message for these last days, to restore and bring back families together. How do we do that? How do we do it in our homes? There is a yearning today for connection with God. Many family relationships have been broken and need to be restored. And we need modern day Elijahs in our home. We need somebody or individuals to start standing up and praying up and lifting up our families. And that's going to bring about healing. It's going to bring about restoration. It's going to most of all bring about change. We need to restore our relationships first and foremost with God and allow that peace to fill it, allow the grace of God to fill us, to change us. And the overall objective of the Family Ministries Department is first and foremost to strengthen families. We do this through programs and seminars. We do it through the churches. We do it through the resources we have, because we want to enable families to grow spiritually, to grow emotionally. And this is, I guess, centered around that text in 1 John 4, 7 and 8, that text of loving one another. Our mission is to provide the resources, the training, the networking opportunities to instill that hope and bring wholeness to families. Now, I've got three main aims during this year we want to try and do during this next 4 years. The first aim is all around restoration. We want to restore our families back to God and show our families the importance of strong family and how, as a family, we can impact the church, yes, but we can also impact our communities. How do we reach families outside of the church? And also through our counseling service, minister to those needs. People have emotional needs, mental needs, relationship needs, different needs. How do we minister to those needs? And I guess the three main aims I wanted to look at is, one, firstly, to proclaim the reviving and restorative message of that everlasting gospel, the gospel which brings change and which brings hope. And that is the first thing that we need to leave, an understanding of God, to affirm and strengthen every Seventh-day Adventist family as the primary discipling unit. Family ministry seeks to deepen understanding of the relational dimension of being and making disciples, and strengthen the family members as disciples. And finally, to enable parents and families to increase the likelihood of transferring, I guess, the Christian values of our church to the next generation. So passing on the torch, as it were, that we can, instill hope in our families. And it's my prayer that as we work together during for some of you, just for the next year or 2 years, wherever you are serving, that God will equip you to be effective in ministering, I guess, to to our families in the church, realizing that we have a mix of families, as we're going to share through this training, but realizing that God wants to reach everybody in their situations. And most of all, God wants to change our lives. So I pray as we take some time today in this training, God will inspire our hearts to be those men and women that He has called us to be and help us to be effective. That is my prayer. Amen. I don't know, Delaware, maybe you like to visit this time. Yeah? Move on.
Lord, we just thank you for the word that we just heard, and I just pray that you will truly inspire all of our hearts to be the people you need us to be, so that we can reflect your love to those around us. I pray all these things now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, everybody. So it's good that we've now come together. I can see one or two more people are on, and we want to welcome you. We also have, I would just like to say, we also have a couple of people on helping us with the Zoom today, which is Beverly, Natal, and also Lynn, and they're going to help us with the questions. So I say, if you see people asking questions, or we want you to interact. We don't just want this to be us talking. We want you to interact with us and ask questions. And can I just establish, many of you for the first time, or you new, or some of you, I can see some names, I recognize some before, but do we have some people new to Family Ministries today?
I'm new.
I'm new. So your name is Sister?
Livette from Leicester Central.
Okay, from Leicester Central. Welcome, Yvette. Good to have you with us.
I'm new.
Today will be, someone else is new. If you just say your name, please, as well, that would help us.
Nomkita.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes,
I'm new.
sorry, I'm new. I'm Dennis Simit from Huddersfield, Crestlandmore.
Welcome, Dennis from Huddersfield. It's good to have you with us. Good to have you with us today, Dennis. Dennis, oh, it's Dennis. Yes.
Yes.
And I'm new to Family Ministries as well, Carol.
Oh, yes. Sounds
Yeah.
right.
Hi, Pastor John Donovan.
Welcome, welcome.
I'm
new as
well. Sorry. I'm new as well. I'm Trudy and from Derby Bethel. Trudy and Brown.
Trudy and Brown, yeah.
Hi, Trudy.
Hi.
Oh, hi. I'm new as well. Sorry, I'm Aurelia from Chesterfield Church. You met me yesterday. To be honest, I wanted to come on. I'm not even Family Ministries, but I'm Women's Ministries, and I know that. But I just want all the knowledge I can, because I think so much what we do is actually relates to Family Ministries. So if you don't mind, I'll just be there.
So welcome to have you. Yes, definitely. And it's so interlinked with a lot of ministries, as we're going to see this morning. And it's good to have you. I see Jabu's on as well. Welcome. It's so good to have all of you on, and it's our prayer you will get blessed today. Now, there was a couple of things that I've given Lynn to send out. One will be our resource book, which is done every year. We will do that as we go along. We'll put that in the chat so you can download that. That will be the first thing, Lynn, if you could send that resource book out. And there is a couple of things we're doing a little bit different this year across the conference. We want to assess, it's okay doing the training, but it's to assess how effective it is. So we want some constructive feedback, good and bad, doesn't matter what it is, you be honest with yourself. We're doing a sort of a questionnaire to help you to reflect at the end of the training. Has it benefited you? If it hasn't, why hasn't? Just fill out those questionnaires, and we are doing that. So I will ask Lynn and Natal to send those questionnaires, those two training manuals, on the chat, and there's also a QR code that you can do as well. Yeah. Also, as I said, it's nice that a couple of you have put on your canvas. It does help us a little bit. So if you are able to do so, and decent can do so, where you can, try and put them on canvas, because it just helps us to see you and realize we're not just talking to ourselves. So that is good. So I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to do that. Okay, so we're going to go right in now. No, Delaware, if you'd like to we'll just try and share our screen for the presentation. Hopefully it should come up. Okay. So hopefully you should see this.
Pastor, do you want us to share the information on the group now?
If you could, please, yeah. Right, so, okay. So this presentation is basically to give you a start in your family ministries journey. And it's basically, as it's entitled, Effective Family Ministries. What does that look like in our local church setting? What does this actually look like? So first, I wanted to kind of give us a bit of history. Many people don't fully realize the full history of family ministries. And it goes back, these are some of the two of the founders here actually, back in 1919 to 1941, the very first family ministries, I guess what we should say to the beginning is family ministries has made vital contributions to strengthening families and the community in the church. And that's for years. So right at the very beginning, these two people, Arthur and Maud Spalding, they were kind of there right from the start. On October 8th, 1919, the General Conference Committee created what we termed back then, wasn't called Family Ministries, but it was called Home Commission, which became officially operated in 1922 with these two individuals. And the Spaldings, basically what they did is they created literature for education of the entire family. And a series of leaflets were produced dealing with different phases of the home life, entitled the Christian Home Series. That's how it began. The Spaldings lessons. And that's a little bit. You've got a bit of background noise here, I think, coming up. Right. In further on, if we move on, in June 1941, the General Conference Convention on the Home was held and was perhaps the first family international conference. And the Home Commission became part of the General Conference Department of 1941. And then later on, we had these two people here, Delmore and Betty Holbrook, from 1975 to 1988. That's when the conference was held in Vienna, Austria, and the Home and Family was voted into existence by these two individuals, the husband and wife team, and they conducted, I guess, family seminars for administrators, for pastors, for laity in the divisions of the world. And this was really good. Yeah.
I think it's just worth stating, because if you notice, it says 1919 to 1941, and then the next date, 1975. But there was lots of other people from 1941, but we didn't put their pictures in. But it basically did continue to. It didn't stop and then start back in 1975. It actually did continue. We are just doing the main characters here. Influential.
Yeah, as the other one says, so it's just the main people. Now, second to them, to these two, we have Ron and Karen Flowers. Now, these made a lot of changes. Ron and Karen Flowers joined the Home and Family Service, which, as I said, was then known. They joined in 1980. Delmore Holbrook, who we saw before, was from 1975 to 1982, and Betty Holbrook served as a director from 1982 until 1985, when the HFS, as it was known, became part of the Department of Church Ministry. So it was beginning then to move into what we know today as family ministries, and it stayed as church ministries until 1988 when they retired. And then Ron and Karen Flowers, they was the associates. They came in and took it on and took the work to a new level. And they basically, established the Department of Family Ministries, and they was there right until June 2010. The Flowers presented family seminars on marriage, on parenting. I know we've got some parenting people here, family and living in over 85 countries. And they introduced what we are going to share with you today called the Family Plan Book, which is a resource by the GC, which is used all over the world by so many different directors and things. And it looks at so many, it's got sermons, it's got seminars in, it just guides you, manuals in instruction in how to do effective family ministries. And today, we move right to today, we have Willie and Elaine Oliver. We've had the privilege of meeting them long before I even became in this role, because we was involved with family ministries for some time, and they're a very dynamic couple, and they today run the service. They continue with the plan book, and they basically have been running it to this present time, and they're being effective in what we do. And so you will see a lot of their material, which is on the GC website. If you type in Adventist Families, it will be there. And that is something that you can, sort of gain from. So I thought giving you some history makes you realize how important family ministries is. But one of the most important things I would say about family ministries, it spans between all the departments of the church. Because if the families aren't strong, the church is not strong. So we need this. I see we've got a couple of background noise. Yes, if you could mute. Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions you have at this stage, or is everybody happy with that's just a little overview? I see the information's been sent out, so you've got some links there you can work with. Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we've done our introductions and we've done the history of family ministries. This is just a brief overview of what we're going to be covering. So we're going to be looking at what is family ministries in a bit more detail, how you can get started with implementing family ministries in your church. We'll be talking about the plan book and let you know how that's organised. We also want to hear from you. Even if you're new, you maybe can say what sort of things your church, you may be new to the post, but the previous family ministries leader could have covered some things in your church from before. So if you want to share what things you've done in your church, then other people can learn from that. The plans for the year, Pastor will be going through some plans that he has for the year. And of course, we can definitely have questions and answers and close with prayer at the end.
So that basically is the the overview of today. Now, I think this is fundamental. The question is asked: what is family ministries? What is family ministries? And I'm not saying it's the total definition that you can expand a little bit on this, but basically, family ministry seeks to recognize that families are first and foremost the building blocks. I should say of our community, and also our church, and also our society. Now, you've got to think about that a little bit, because they're the building blocks of our community. So the foundation to the people around us, families can have a great influence, either good or for bad. So the church, it lifts up the church. If the families, as I say, family's strong, everything's working. And of course, that has an impact on society, because that says how our children behave in society. It's across all that board. And it says the family life department's main aim is to help nurture and support positive relationships among single people, couples, and families, in all words, all shapes and sizes, widows, whatever situation you be. Family ministries is for everybody. It's across the church. We believe God created families to nurture warm, meaningful, and loving relationships, and discover what it is to be loved and to experience love. In families, children develop beliefs, they develop values, they develop attitudes, which translate into behavioral patterns that shape their future. and the future of their communities. The department takes the view that a happy, healthy people who have positive relationships can be a powerful influence in today's broken world. Now, when you see that statement, I don't know, does any thoughts come to some of your minds? Or how does that make you feel when you read a statement like that? Does that sort of say, this is the responsibility I now have?
It's a powerful statement, isn't it? And pulls everything together in terms of identifying what our purpose is.
It's also an inclusive statement, because normally in churches, when you talk about family life, they are only looking at families per se, but not including the singles and other relationships. We have this mentality that a family is a couple of married men, women, and children. So to me, it is an inclusive statement as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad, Tendai, you actually said that, because that is sometimes what is missed. And so, sadly to say, sometimes, I'm not saying this in every church, but sometimes people put family ministries down at the bottom of the list because they seem to think it's just for a small group. But what they don't realize is actually, I believe, should be really at the very top of the list, because if this isn't right, if we don't get those relationships across all our different ages and people and groups correct, whatever we do is going to fall apart. Because it's vital that how we communicate with each other, how we interact with each other is fundamental. And so this is why family ministries is key, because it's foundational. Without it, really, the church will not function. It's almost like the heart, I would say. Is that a good way of saying it? The heart of the church. And so it's so important that we have this ministry and that we're working, because remember, we have so many different groups. I mean, some churches may not have any children, but they probably have maybe single people, they may have a lot of widows, they may have divorced, different people, and all of these groups need ministering to in different ways. And that is what family ministries is about. It's how are we going to impact, how are we going to minister to these needs of these people. And I guess each of you have to look at your own church setting and decide. That's why we have a survey, which we'll explain later. It decides what are the needs of my church and how can family ministries help me in my particular setting. And you've got to adapt it to yourself, it's true, because each of our settings will be different. But I'm really glad you said that. That's really important.
You see, what you were just saying just fits in with this slide here, because it says the types of family structures. And this is telling you that a family is not a husband and wife and 2 children. A family, they are a family, but also a single parent. You could be a single parent family, you could be extended family, you could be empty nest. There's all these different aspects of family.
And have a look at that list, but I would like to say that's not an exhaustive list, possibly not. But it helps us to understand that there are different ways of family. Yes, we know what Genesis 1. I did a little bit about that when I did my devotion. We know what God set up in the beginning, but we also are conscious of the fact as a church that we have different families in our church with different situations and different needs. And the question we need to be asking ourselves is, what does our church look like for them? What do I mean by that? I mean, what does our services look like for them? How do we impact those? I remember, and I think it helps us if we share some of our personal experiences, wasn't it, Delabon? Many years ago, before I became into ministry, and I think I was an elder at the time, and I know myself and Delabon, we did family ministry. We were family ministries leaders in our church, so we know what it's like to be where you're at, and it is challenging. And I remember one of the years we did a survey of our church, and various things came out. You cannot do everything, but you have to minister to where the needs are at. And you know, I also remember some events we used to do where we had the family weeks, and we would maybe have a fun day on the park at the end of it, and different things happening for the singles and different things going on. But you have to look at those needs, and you have to try and minister. And I do remember doing a lot of work through the Sabbath school, isn't it, for the students, the fellowship times. Those are what people remember. You know, oftentimes people do not remember, even as ministers, they don't remember our sermons, but they remember our visits to the home. They remember the impacts we've had with individuals, and that's what you have to do in church. You have to help through the family ministries department to minister to those families' needs. That maybe a single parent, for example, needs some specific support, and how are we doing that? And we have to look at the diversity we have and see how we can minister to those individual needs and have an impact. And that's, I guess, what we are saying there. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts. By all means, please share. I don't want just to be doing all the talking here.
Okay, so we'll just move on then. So we're going to have a look at the characteristics of family ministries. So you can see that with the very first point, it's these people in their context of their relationship. And it's not about just labeling people, but seeing people as individuals. I think that's what's important about family ministries. Even when we talk about, family ministries does help, or should help to people who are grieving, and not everyone grieves in the same way. And so that's why that point is important. You have to see that individual and allow them to grieve in the way that they need to grieve. The second one there says, looks at the needs of the family at the different stages of development. And we know that there's lots of studies out there that say, you know, there are different stages that people have to go through in their life, and we all need different sorts of support at those various stages. For example, someone who's newly married would perhaps need some support, because, you know, adjusting to being a married couple. That's why we try to put on things for couples in the way of relationship weekends. But then somebody who's got an empty nest, they're in a different stage of their life.
Do you know what I mean by empty nest? Don't you?
I think most people know.
When the children have left, yeah.
That's an adjustment time, because believe it or not, that can be a time when marriages are struggling. Even if you're not married, you know, when you could be a single parent and your children have gone off to uni, gone off to work, gone off to do their own lives. You know, that's an adjustment period, and just recognizing that those people in your church at that time might need some extra support. And then you've got the third one there, strengthens existing relationships and build new ones. And that's so important. And that's why I think as a church, we've seen it a lot more now that churches are having fellowship lunch. That is so important for strengthening relationships. Some people who do live alone sometimes really look forward to that time of coming together and socializing with people on the Sabbath. So it's important if you can. If you can't do it I know some churches do it literally every week. If you can't do it every week, you could perhaps have it a set time once a quarter or something like that. But I know of churches, because they have their fellowship every lunch, every month or every week, they have a lot of visitors, because the announcement is, please do stay for lunch. You are more than welcome. People feel that you want to share with them, and so that's one way to, you know, encourage people to come and to share together, and I'd encourage you to do that. The next one there, offers restoration to those suffering from brokenness. That's important, because like I said, if you've suffered a recent loss of a loved one, it's good to have that support in place. If you're going through a marital breakdown, a divorce, that's kind of traumatic. even for the children, they might need some support as well. So that's where family ministries comes in. The next one there, teachers' competence in interpersonal skills. The good thing about family ministries, you know, there's so when I say to you, there's so many resources out there that you can tap into that teaches you how to have better communication, that teaches you how to relate better with your children and how to communicate better with your children and how to discipline your children in a healthy way. There's other resources on how to deal with conflict. I mean, whether you're married or whether you're single, we all have to deal with conflict issues and how to get over that. So that's a good thing about family ministries. It covers all of those aspects. Education, enrichment, and counselling. Yeah, there's the counselling service we have.
So part of the family ministries is linked to the NEC counselling services. We have a trained counsellor who manages that, DQRCO, a trained counsellor and family therapist. That is all part of it. So just to promote the counselling service in your churches, it's available. There is a very small charges, a lot cheaper than what normal counselling would cost. If families can't afford, no one's turned away. That's what we always say. So don't let that discourage anybody. But it's available, and some people have many issues, not just in relationships for couples. That's obviously fundamental there, but also different things. We have a lot coming in now for mental health problems or different issues. So whatever the issue, that service is there. And there are other support links on our website, as you'll see later, that people can go to. Obviously, it's not a crisis line. Sometimes if it's an emergency, you have to visit those lines as well. But at least we've got some service there. And we're trying to develop that and build that. And that's important. Something else we are also trying to do is, I guess, family ministry does seek to meet people at their different stages of their personal development. And it basically, I said a little bit in my devotion this morning, it's part of promoting restoration and healing based on Malachi chapter 4. You know, because that's the reason why we're here as a church. Part of our reason is to call families back and restore people. And so there's I want to stress is that for you as leaders, you've got a very vital role to play in your churches. And it's so important that you are the ones helping, because that brings all the gospel and the message of hope, which we proclaim together. And because part of the thing, we should be offering healing to those who have been abused, scarred, some people are in dysfunctional families. How do we minister to those needs? If you don't hear, man is made up of dimensions, and part of it is our mental state. And a lot of the problems when we come to faith is the mental state is still not right. And we need, part of the healing process is God wants to fix us emotionally and mentally. There's a lot of sick people even in church, you know that. And it's about us experiencing that healing afresh. And that is fundamental to what family ministries is, and really important.
Yeah, and it ties into that last point there, ministry of God's saving grace. I think as family ministry leaders, we need to, I mean, it's all in our Sabbath school lesson, isn't it? All about God's love and how God loves everybody. And I think sometimes in churches we're becoming very judgmental, pointing the finger, and we want to move away from that. We want God to be the judge, and we want to encourage our members to love each other and to forgive. Again, the forgiveness that we have, a forgiveness program we did not long ago in the churches, and this is so important, because if you can't forgive, you're not going to have a very wholesome relationship with people around you. And so this is all about what family ministries is about.
Can I just ask, as we're moving along, has Sister Maxine joined us at all? Are you on at the moment? Because I hope you, if I could just ask before you were helping us, Natal and Lynn and Beverly, if she comes on, please just let us know, because I know I just want to introduce her to the team, our secretary for the department. She's perhaps on another Zoom at the moment, but she's going to pop in at some point. So if you could just let me know when you do see her. Thanks.
Will do.
Okay, so I guess our mission statement, this statement here, it says here, Adventist Family Ministry seeks to strengthen, inspire hope, bring healing to marriages, not just marriages, to families and to individuals through the abundant love and saving grace of Jesus Christ. Fundamentally, it is to speak peace to those troubled waters and troubled situations. I say it like that. That is the core of our lives, and that's what we have been called to do, because family ministries is fundamentally, I said to you right at the beginning, for those who may have missed the worship session, our greatest theme during this period of our conference session is restoration. And that's what it's about. And the question we need to always be asking ourselves in our churches, what is it we can do as leaders to help bring about this restoration of relationships, the situations, the challenges? Doesn't mean you're not going to have challenges, you know, but it's how we deal with those challenges. And what I'm saying is a lot of resources and materials there to help us in that process of leading our congregations. So that's what you're going to be called to do through your ministerial team, by the way, of course, through your pastor and your elders, but lead those congregations into a more fulfilled and wholesome life and existence, and bring about peace. And where there are challenges, let us know how to manage those and work through those sensibly. And it's a process, it's not an overnight fix. That's what I'm saying. But it will happen. But if we can just grasp this vision here, that will help us to accomplish great things by God's grace.
And we have the vision statement. And it says here that Adventist Family Ministries reinforces and encourages wholesome families. It helps individuals build and maintain strong family relationships because it recognizes that healthy Christian families make strong members for the kingdom of God and present a winsome witness to the community around them. Adventist Family Ministries promotes understanding, acceptance, and love within the family and in the larger family of God, and fosters the reconciliation and healing between the generations promised in the Elijah message. It extends hope and support to those who have been injured and hurt by abuse, family dysfunction, and broken relationships. Adventist Family Ministries fosters competence in a variety of interpersonal skills needed in relationships. It provides growth opportunities through family life education and enrichment. It encourages individuals, married couples, and families to avail themselves of professional counselling when necessary. So I'm hoping you're getting the feel now of what really Family Ministries is about. Because ultimately, you know, something that's very interesting, when we go around the churches, very interesting, because you can see the dynamics of different churches. And you can see when you walk into a church, you can feel the atmosphere of that church. And when I mean, we don't know all the people, but you see the way that people interact. You see that the way that they relate to each other. And so what I'm saying is this: if the community at large were to step into your church, what would they see? What would they feel? What atmosphere would they feel in your church? Would they feel that, oh, it's a me and a you, I've just come and I'm in my spot, nobody interacts, nobody, you know? So what I'm saying is we should have a church that is a loving church, that is a church that is going to be witnessing. Because, you know, when you come outside of your church building to go to your cars or wherever you're going, sometimes there's people around, depending on, of course, your position of your church. Sometimes there's people around, and you might not think that they're watching, but sometimes they're watching and to see how you're interacting as a church. And sometimes that will influence them to say, I've never wanted to come into your church before, but I've decided to come in because I've heard the singing, I've heard that joyful singing, and I've seen the love that you have for each other, the way that they're smiling, there's laughter. This is what I'm trying to say. We have to make sure that we...
Okay, Edward, yes.
Did you want to make a point, Edward?
Edward, was you saying something? Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, all right, no worries. I thought you
Yeah,
were
so,
question.
yeah, so let's try to keep in mind what our church needs to be.
Yeah. I think what the other one's saying there is really fundamental. What did our church look like? I often ask the question, if our church was, I used to ask this question, I'm not asking you to answer it, please, but I used to ask this question, if our church was to burn down today, who would miss it? Think about that. If your church was to burn down today, who would miss it in the community? And the question is, the reason why I asked that question is, what impact are we making? Are we just coming to church to come and do our programs and fellowship? Or are we coming to church to see how we can link to our community? So I see Natal has a question.
I was just asking what was Maxine's surname, because we have a M. Campbell that's joined.
Yes, Sister Maxine is on. Okay, can we just stop the PowerPoint for 1 second? Telephone, yeah. Sister Maxine, want to welcome you. Sister Maxine is the, I guess, the wheel behind the department. She's crucial. She's our administrator, our secretary for the department. Sister Maxine, I rely on her a lot. She helps me out a lot, and all of us as directors depend on our support staff. And she's probably maybe your main point of contact when you're in the office to help with queries and stuff. I don't know if you want to say anything to the folks, Sister Maxine.
Yes, I just want to say good morning, everyone. It's by God's grace. It's my pleasure to serve. I serve family ministries, Sabbath school, women's ministries, and also support pastor in the safeguarding lead, by God's grace. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I know it's going to be very informative and very inspirational. God bless you all.
Sister Maxine. So as you can see, it's the full hat that she serves, but it's good to have. And I just wanted everybody to meet her, so at least you know, put a face behind. But she's very pleasant on the phone, so she'll always have a nice word to say to you and encourage you, and always there praying with you. So we're working together as a team. So God is able. God is able. What do you say? Okay, so we're going to go back to our presentation at this moment in time. We're just going to try and see if we can bring it back up. So we've looked at the vision, which is really, really important. I'm hoping this is helping you, and please ask your questions as you need. Now
we're going to go.
Yes, how do you get started? This is the question. Oh, Pastor, yes, all this sounds really good, but how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, first and foremost, want to say to you that you cannot do this on your own. It's about, you may have been appointed as a leader, but what you now need to do is to develop your team. And it doesn't mean the nominating committee has necessarily done that. You probably will need to start to look at key people, different types of people to come and help you do stuff. And we will move forward. I can see it as a question come up. I saw something in the chat then. Maybe not.
Yeah, that question was, can we have literature for this meeting, because I want to join children ministries at 11.
No problem. Yes, the PowerPoint, so what we are doing here is being recorded, so it will be there. And because you've come on the team now, hopefully you should have registered your email address, so you will automatically be sent all the links, and some information will be sent to you. And there is actually a training pack that I'm developing at the moment. I'm going to spend the next couple of months writing that up, getting that ready. We will also send that in, and the rest of the materials we have today. So that will be good. Okay.
Yeah, so just regarding the team, I think it's good to get a cross section of people from your church. So you don't want everybody from, as it were, the same age group. You don't want all married people on your committee. You don't want all single people on your committee. You don't want or retired people on your committee. What I'm basically saying is get a cross section of people from your church, and they will make up a good committee where you can get different ages, some retired, married, single, so that way you'll be able to cover, the people that are in your church, and make sure that you can meet some of their needs. And then the next one, they conduct a family life profile, which is very similar to the survey. They're quite similar, really. You will find that material in the handbook.
All these materials are going to be in your handbook. Now, I know in the chat, I can see, we're going to go through that in a bit, but in the chat, we've put the links in there. So one of those links will contain your handbook. It would be good for you to download that. Don't worry if you've hopefully registered with your email. I'm hoping that should be the case for you to get on. Then what we will do, I will also email it out to everybody as well. And eventually it should be added to our website soon. We're just updating a few things. So that is really important, because that is like your resource book for the year. So that will help you. And a lot of these surveys are in there. And I would encourage you to do a survey for the church. Nice to do it now, at the start of the year, just to see where things are. Now, you may find a lot of needs will come out. You can't do everything. We've got resources we can help you with, but I would encourage you not to tackle more than 1 or 2 things, 3 at the most, right? Your 3 main ones, because you'll never do everything, but it's better to get, at least if it's only 1 thing you do, it's better to do 1 thing and do it well, or 3 things and do it well, rather than trying to do 10 things and not really accomplish anything. Does that make sense? So the survey is a guide for you to find out what are your needs in my church. That's what we say. And also the life profile will help. Also, sorry, the surveys does that, which we cover in number 3. The profile will help you understand more the demographics and the different makeup of your church, in terms of, like we said, whether you've got a lot of single people, widows, divorced, whatever. It just understanding your demographics helps you, because that helps to see where the areas I need to concentrate on. Does that make sense? And there are a lot of people around can help you, and we've got a lot of resources in the office. We can give you, at least point you in the right direction of where to go. So that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for, to help, and so Sister Maxine. So please, get in touch with us, and also relate, and also as well share what you're doing. That's the biggest problem. We're going to say a little bit more about that later, but that's one of the problems I have. Hearing from you all what is being accomplished, because it's important. Somebody's raised their hand.
Yes, Pastor, I just wanted to ask about the surveys. I mean, to be fair, I don't know whether you have already sort of a template of a survey to use or not, but what I found in the past that I hear what you're saying, that they are very important to understand where people stand and what the needs are. But I find that it's so difficult to get the surveys actually completed. When you print them, some of the surveys, let's say that I can only speak for women's ministries, they were a couple pages long, and people need time to complete them. So they say, oh, I will bring it next week, but they don't end up bringing it. And then I got to the point where I tried to simplify the survey and do it as an online link, but and do it sort of just like a tick box exercise online. But even that was a struggle to get out from people. So do you have any tips of how to actually get those surveys returned back to us?
Yeah, I think when we did them, when we were back in our own church, what we did, we gave them out, like in your, I don't know if you still do 10-minute spots. I know some churches don't have them as much, but after the Sabbath school and before divine worship, there was a little bit of time just there. We would give them out, even as people are coming into church, and the opportunity to give them out then, and then you'll have that 10 minutes to just talk them through the survey. The survey that we've had, the family life ones, are literally just very small. When we did them in the way of, we did them like bookmarks, so it was this tiny. But I just think it did need a little bit of tweaking. And the idea is, when the offering for Sabbath school is collected, so you're talking to them in the 10 minutes, and you say, right, everyone get your survey out. And then as you go through the survey, people are filling it in then. And then you say to them, can you put it now in the offering basket or whatever? And then again, that's the first opportunity to hand it back in. So you're stressing, give it back in. Then the second opportunity is when they've got their, most churches have a 10-minute break. So you say in the break, if you haven't done it then fill it in then at the break. And then for divine worship, again, in divine worship, you're saying, please, you should have now filled it in, put it in the offering basket.
Or at least stand at the door at the end to collect for those who haven't. And what we also did with the survey, and I take the point what you said about the length, you shorten it sometimes as well to your key things. And sometimes we did say, fill out your top three areas of needs, or you can adapt it. The survey is a guide, but you can adapt it to your particular needs and what you feel you could do, because there were some things on there we didn't feel, you know, we would be able to offer anyway. It's no good putting stuff on there you can't offer. So it's about adapting it and working it. And I agree the online stuff is important as well. That can sometimes help. And maybe it's something we need to work on, maybe developing more online, you know, doing some stuff, the QR code link where people put it out on the phones there and then. That could be something that, you know, we could look. So come back and have more of a chat to us on that in various ways. But following those methods and doing it, try to do it on the day, that is where you get most response. When people say they're bringing it back, to be honest with you, it doesn't often. Somebody else, is it Tia? Oh, the same one, is it? Sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to also give feedback regarding surveys. I was thrilled with the survey because I love them. I think they're effective way. However, in our church, it didn't seem to be working perfectly. Also, similar issues, people not returning, or I'll bring you back another time, or I didn't hear the announcement. Like I was in a loop, I was there. So we had to chase it for a few weeks, and still some people complained that it was asking for too many personal details. So that's a huge thing. I didn't know that's such a huge problem in our church. Even though, of course, we reassured them that all this stuff was stored not only in the vestry, but in a special locked cupboard. Everything was safely stored. Some people still feel like it is maybe too much information asked. So I think in the future, if that is something we could do, definitely shorten it. Even anonymous, I think sometimes we will get the best results out of anonymous surveys. So I just sharing with those who haven't maybe done it yet, just be wary of that. Some people, we might not get that useful feedback or requests or the needs because people feel weary of, you know, it's that notion. I don't think it's to do with only our church. It's that fear of what's going to happen with my details. Who am I giving this? Like, you know, some people are really concerned and we need to respect that. So in future, I might do it either anonymously or, even though I did mention you don't have to fill up stuff you're not comfortable with. We just need to know what are your needs. We need to help. We want to help. We want to know what are your needs. We emphasize that, of course, and still some people felt weary about what's going to happen with this and then did not complete anything, which was shocking to me. But it's just something I want to share with others to maybe prevent that in a way. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I've taken a couple of notes what you said, because I think what we could also look at, and I'll have to talk to the communication department as well and show them the surveys we have. We might be able to modify the survey a little bit for you, just to help. Obviously, you can do it individually as well. We'll try and see if we can do something at the office to modify it a little bit. And I'm not very good at doing this. Is getting the QR codes aspects where you can just go on there, fill it out, it comes straight back to an address or something. So that might be something we could help you with, or help you at least get set up. So I'll have a look into it. But what I would say now as advice is look at it yourselves and try and adapt it to your needs. That's what I'm saying. It's a template, and you can chop and change that, and you know, do a few things I'm suggesting.
Yes, thank you.
But I'll also, from an office point of view, we'll have a look at it and just see if there's something we can do to help you as well. Yeah. So I think that's some valid points you've made there. Is it Levette? Is it?
Yeah, it's Levette. I can probably share because I did a survey just a few weeks ago. So at the end of last year into this year, just so that I know how to plan programs for the year for family ministries. What I had done is that I did both printed and electronic forms. So it was the very same information. And at the top of the form, I explicitly said, you know, who's it targeted for? So I said, if you're 16 and over, and if you attend Leicester Central SD, and I had a box outside that just had tick boxes. So, are you 16 and over? Tick. Are you attending the church? Blah, blah, blah. Then please pick up a survey, fill it out, and drop it in. So what I had on that box itself, the drop-in box had a QR code to the online form. And as people were coming into the service, on each deaconess's table, I had paper copies of the surveys that they could fill out, and then they could either drop it in the box or they could, you know, do it online. Also, yeah, we still have the 10-minute personal ministry spot, so we promoted the survey then. At the end of service, the QR code was displayed so that people could do that electronically, and then I also put it in the church bulletin. And even then,
yes,
they were awful. So what I had done is that I went into a church chat and I sent everybody a message individually, because they don't look at messages when you send it in a group, right? But if you send it individually to them, and I got flagged for spam from WhatsApp. But that didn't last very long. Then they do respond, but more so if you go up to them directly after church. So even to get a bit more responses, what I did was after church as they were leaving, just reminded people, have you filled in the survey? And you'd be surprised, oh no, what survey? After 3 weeks of canvassing. But yeah, asking people directly, and what can help is get the children on board, because children love to do these kinds of things. You can have them running around with an iPad with the survey there, going up to people and just asking them to fill it out. Now, my survey didn't last anything more than 2 minutes. It took maybe a couple seconds to be honest. And what you want to do is to have something that's very quick and easy to do. So tick boxes, multiple choice, that kind of thing. Of course, there must be a place for free text. Just so that if there are any needs that you haven't thought about, if that's something that's pressing for them, you give them the opportunity. And then I made it anonymous. So I think all of those things in total made it an effective survey. And last thing I'd say is that using an online platform, so I use Google Forms, was really helpful with data analysis, because what it does is that it, you know, like when I was looking at demographics of people, it made it into a nice little pie chart for me. So I didn't have to go and do that afterward. And for those paper forms, I just translated that into the Google form thing, and everything was populated for me so that for presentations, when I have to present it to the board, it's already done.
That is excellent what you said. I know it's difficult getting information of people. Even when we send out stuff from the office, we don't get response, and then people say they don't receive it, and we see that. So it's not easy, but we have to keep trying. But I wouldn't mind you just chatting sometimes. You can get in touch with us, and maybe we have a look at what you did as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it across now.
So thank you so much for that. It's lovely when you guys can come on and you can share your experience, because that is what makes this real. And I know some of you have this experience, you've been doing it a while. So this is fantastic. Is there anything else? Is there any other body's comments I can see, guys? We covered everybody's.
Yeah, we've had everyone.
All right. So organizing a family ministries team.
One moment, Pastor. I think I heard Edward.
Okay, Edward.
Did you have a question?
No, I don't have midwife.
Okay. Do you have a question now, maybe? Okay. All right. So organizing a family ministries team, you need to have, well, I know it says here, chair the family ministries committee. So you need to have somebody on your team who's going to chair, whoever, maybe yourself or somebody. It just basically setting it out. you need to have, and I think the sister's just been sharing it from the survey, you need to have coordinated family ministries plans for the overall church program. So you then share that with the leadership, and then you start to see how we can filter this in through the various departments, because maybe some things you may have to work with the youth department, sometimes personal ministries, different things, depending on what you're doing, you will then, you know, facilitate all of that. And I'm just going to go through the list here, you know, identifies and promotes church and community resources, provides help to meet critical needs, represents the needs and interests of the families on the church board. That's what we meant by getting all different sort of officers. We have informs the pastor, church board, you know, of the achievements, needs and concerns, promotes education, understanding relationships, and creates that sort of team atmosphere. All of this is important. It's also good to share, you know, when we have programs, when we have events, share them, take some photographs, do some articles, share them as well with the NEC. Let us know the part of what you're doing, because this helps us to share as well, not just for conference sessions, but it helps us also to share what's the church, what's happening in our conference. And
Are you talking about?
Tell, yes, you have a question.
It's just a point with regards to sharing. I've been approached by a lady from one of the churches up north, and she's asking if that the personal ministry, the family ministries leaders all coordinate their dates so that we don't clash. She said it would be helpful if they could all support each other in attending the meetings to give that additional support to the family ministries leaders. And then all the families, the singles and whoever can all meet up at the various churches as and when they're putting on their dates, just to avoid clashes.
You mean in their local church, you mean?
Their local churches, yeah.
Local church, yeah. This is something, you know, I think not just in family ministries, like you say, but across the board, even as a conference, we are trying, you know, as directors to coordinate our things. So we're not, sometimes it's not always easy, but that's what you try to do, because it does help. You know, if the church is spread too thinly and cannot function, nothing else gets done, does it? You know what I'm saying? So it does help where we can try to, I think it's a good point, to coordinate or make it a part of that department. You know, some departments are working together kind of thing, you know, that sort of partnership, rather than saying one department going to this, do this over here, at the same time another department's trying to do the same thing. That's what it's about. It's about trying to work together. But also, in addition, I guess, with the family ministry side as well, there are some aspects of what you may do. You may need to be working with a department as well to implement, because of the need you particularly working with. So, for example, if it's your youth, you need to work with the youth department to bring on something for the, you know, that kind of thing. But it's about trying to more work together. That is really good advice, Natal. So thank you for actual sharing that one. Really, I think that's really important. So that basically is an overview. Right, so this basically is looking at creating learning environments, which is really, really important, and creating a good environment for the church family. So first and foremost, the environment needs to be based on biblical principles. And basically, we need to be teaching our families to show them what it means to show God's love. Relationships, as it says here, are enhanced and strengthened when we make this the fundamental thing. And of course, as creating learning environments, when you do all of these things, you develop the skills and you put those skills into practice. That's what it's basically saying here. And guess what? Everyone's involved. So it's just repeating what I've been saying there, that it's not just about what you can do on your own. It's about getting everybody involved, the whole church involved. And guess what? As it says here, people learn from each other. So that's where we create learning environment. People actually help each other.
So in this next one, it's just looking at learning styles, and I think it's really important when you're putting on programs in your church that you're very aware that everyone learns in different ways. So some people are more visual. So when you're doing a program, make sure you have something visual for them to focus on. So PowerPoints are obviously good. And maybe some practical visual aids that you're holding up. Diagrams, it's got their images. Auditory, so again, some music. It's got their sound, music, or even rhythms to help learning. Kinesthetic, that is where you've got some practical activities of things that people can actually do. Some people through a combination of different styles. So perhaps it's rather than just having a program where it's just somebody standing at the front and talking for the whole time, you could have somebody talking, you can have some PowerPoint presentations, you could have, well, they're solitary people. Some people just like to be on their own. They just like to work alone. So they don't mind sitting and listening to somebody for the whole time. Social, so that means basically where you say, right, we want you to stop now. We want you to work in small groups to do whatever exercise. Some people love that, the fact that they can work in a group. And you may want to, for some people, they love the mathematical or the logical problem to solve. You could, just for those sorts of learners, put something on the screen where it's something, you know, like, I don't know if anyone remembers that program, is it Krypton Factor? I can't remember what it was called, but where you have to solve a problem. Some people love that. And of course, the opportunity to speak and to share. So if you can include as many of these different learning styles in your program, it will just mean that, or you could even sometimes do I know there's surveys out there to find out with your particular church. I mean, I think visual, if you could have some visual and have some sort of interaction, I think you've covered most learning styles. But if you can incorporate at least 3, I think that would be beneficial, and most people will feel that they have been catered for.
Yeah, I like the other thing. It's very important. You know, I've talked a little bit about environment before, but it's very important to realize everybody learns differently, and to try and, you know, even if you use individuals to help you with something, do meet some of these learning styles, and that so that way information is getting across. You're keeping the interest there. You were helping getting people engaged. All of that is important. So a mixture of all of those things can help. So just be thinking about that when you're doing a program, and how we actually meeting and you know, reaching, basically, because we want to reach everybody, don't we? That's the idea. You know, you've got to try and cater for all the various needs that we have there.
Before we move on, can I just find out from you? I know some people said they were new, but you might be able to refer to other programs you've had in the past. Can you just share which sort of learning styles in the way of programs that you've used before? Does anybody have anything that they can share in the way of, just stop that for a minute.
We'll stop the PowerPoint for a bit while we
can anybody just share what sort of styles they've used in the past, or what's worked well in your particular churches, do you feel?
Where I've done presentations before, I've tried to use the combination, but the one thing I learned is not to give them a handout at the beginning. They spend so much time reading the handout, they actually don't hear anything that you're saying. So then just say to them, you will get the handout, but at the end. But so you can make your notes and stuff like that. But that's what I've learned.
I've found that having like a panel discussion, that really helps to engage families to be involved, you know, particularly when the topics are ones that relate to their experience. you know, and ensuring that we have a variety of ages represented on the panel, so that each person within the family is able to relate to an individual that is there.
Right, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Very important, yeah. And meeting those needs, yeah. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay then. So if nobody else would like to share, we'll just go back to the slide. Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now, we're just going to probably share with you
the plan book.
The plan book. Now, just again, if I could ask, maybe if Lynn or Natal could just re-put the plan book out first on the chat, so you can all download that. But we will, obviously, we'll send it to you as well. And it's the book produced by GC, and it's this year's one. What I will say with the plan book, the theme this year, as it says there, is on celebrations. Now, we've been doing this for the last 4 years, and this one is going to be something we're going to be doing this week. There is a poster, albeit that we just waited for the final proofs to come out. So I will send it out to you hopefully by tomorrow when we have it done. We have the Christian Home and Marriage Week, which is the first major event in the calendar. By the way, just because we have these events in the calendar doesn't mean that's the only time you do family ministries things. These just happen to be GC events. We have the Christian Home and Marriage Week, which runs from the 8th of February to the 15th of February. Now, what we've done as a conference is we've been sort of helping you with this one if it's so early on. And we've been going around the different churches hosting these meetings. So with this year, I have followed the theme of celebrate creation through Sabbath, and some of the sermons in this, not all of them, a couple of them, or we've adapted some, have been put out. So this year we're going to host it at Windsor Street Seventh Adventist Church in Birmingham. It's every night barring Thursday night. We begin on the Sabbath morning, the 8th, where we just lay the foundations in divine service, and then we launch in from the evening. Every night there will be what we call a question and answer session. So at the end of each presentation, there'll be a time people can question, and we're going to be looking at various topics. We've got a special singles night for the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. We're going to be doing something special for them on the Friday, but except Thursday, and that will be broadcast live on YouTube. So even though you may not be able to attend the church because of the distance, you can attend on YouTube. And you can also email the questions. On the poster, you will see an email address dedicated for this program called family@necadventist.org.uk. And that email, we will respond to that. You can send your questions in and information in. As I say, we don't really want to share the poster yet because it's not really been, it just needs to have a few tweaks doing to it. But once I've done that, we will send you all of that as leaders. Please promote it in your churches. Try and interact with us. Try and send some questions, because the speaker likes to have something to discuss and share. It reinforces the sermon. This year we bring a new feature, which is a health spot that we're going to put in as well, because we need to be healthy, don't we? Both mentally and emotionally. So that's going to be Dr. Beatrice is going to help coordinate that for us. So it's going to be got some good speakers, and it's going to be really impactful. Encourage your churches to tune in, and you can go back on previous years, because the very first year we looked at resilience, then we looked at mental health, and last year we did protected families. So you can go back. Some of those resources in those series can help you with your programs. That's all on the website. But basically, this is what the book will contain, as those of you who've downloaded or can see. You'll have a table of contents, and you'll have on page 11 onwards some sermon ideas that you can actually have. I'd say some of them we have used. You'll have some children's stories. That's also helpful for the younger ones. you know, for your children's stories to do. You'll have on page 54 a range of different seminars, and they've got some really interesting things on their seminars. There's one here I've just noticed here: Creating Rest, 70 ways to help a dysregulated child calm their automatic nervous system. But there's various different ones in there. Exploring creation and human sexuality. There's various things. What I would also say, part of my plan this next 4 years is just seeing the thought on sexuality there. There's some really good material the GC have done on how to discuss with children their sexuality. And I'm going to start to try and section off some of those sections and maybe do some webinars or something through the media department that we can actually begin to teach those things and maybe bring some more experts in some programs. So that's something we'll try and develop. It may not happen all in 1 year, but at least we can begin to start that process, because I think that's an area a lot of young people have been challenged on now with what's happening in schools, and we need to give young people what's a healthy relationships from a biblical perspective, but also guidance to our parents, because it's a challenge, isn't it? It is a real challenge. So, and if we don't do it as a church, better to do it from a church perspective and to have more time discussing these things. And there is a resource that you can get as well, which if you want, please write in out. We can look at trying to see if we can get some from GC on that, because it's very important that families have a more healthier understanding in those areas. So you've got various seminars we do. There's leadership resources that we are doing, and one of them is entitled Dealing with Loss, Learning to Grieve When Death Shatters Your Life. Other ones is Marriage and Family, Biblical, Social, Cultural Perspectives, Exploring Jesus' Creative Power. There's various different things, but all these resources are in this book, so this is good. And this is giving you the pages there. Then we have another section, reprinted articles, and that will look at some things they've done before. So, for example, the article on same-sex attraction was in there last time. Meaningful. We have teenagers. Please help. You know, how do you manage that? So there's some really good articles in there on that. And then, of course, we should also have, I think, the resources on 19. We mentioned this morning in our devotion, Rebuilding the Family Altar, Keys to Healthy Minds, Flourishing Families. We have a leadership certification program. Now, at the moment, the BUC Family Ministries Department is been running that. We will also try and again add some of these modules to our site as well, because it's important as leaders you equip yourself. And there's about 10 modules which look at developing leaders. So all of that. So you see, really, as a department, you have a lot of resources at your disposal, and you need to really look into this. Yeah. And then, of course, your final section will be your appendix section. It's Appendix A and Appendix B. Sorry, question?
Yeah, sugar.
Sorry, someone's asking a question.
I think the person's unmuted themselves by accident.
No. So, in your appendix, you have a family ministries policy and a purpose statement. You'll have sections like what is a family. It even gives you a tip. A good presentation will do 4 things. What are those 4 things a good presentation will do? Your family surveys, all of that is in that first appendix. And then you've got in the next appendix B, you've got voted statements like affirmation about marriage, statements of child abuse, statements on homosexuality, statements on sexual behavior, statements on racism. What we have key statements we have come up as a church. So it's good for you to familiarize yourself with those, So, because these are kind of current topics you're going to have discussions on, transgender, all of these things. So it's important that we look at these statements and you familiarize yourself with them, and you can go onto the GC links as well. So all of this, so it's a real book packed with information and to help you.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go to our next slide. Okay, so our next slide says, what are some of your successes and challenges? So we're going to stop the slideshow here. What are some of your successes and challenges? So this is where we would like to hear from you, and then what we can actually do, we will be able to, if there's some support you might need with something, this is where we can offer some support. But if you have been working in family ministries before, you may be able to share what's worked well, and that could just help somebody else. So we'd really like you to now just share with us what has been working very well in the past, and what are some of the things you may need support with. Okay, so that's Livette. Is it Livette?
Yeah, it's Livette. And Oliver, you might hear him from time to time. So I'm new to family ministries. One of my issues is that we hadn't had family. So I've only been in this church for 2 years. We haven't had family ministries since we haven't had family ministries since I've started attending the church. Neither have we had women's or men's ministries. So for me, I mean, I've been in the Adventist church for some time, so I know what the ministry should look like. But for me, it's a bit difficult to establish the needs of our church, or have a template or some kind of foundation to start off with, so that I know what the church might respond best to, which is why I decided to do the survey. Another issue with in our situation is that I haven't got a team yet. So I'm working on that, trying to see if I could get people to help along, to join with me. But that's one of my issues. But what I did recognize in the survey is that people are really, really concerned about their children. And I'll send the results to you as well to see if you can support in some ways. Now, I've been looking at maybe it looks like we need to do some seminars on parenting and different aspects along that. Maybe across a couple days. But I was looking to see if there's anything that's available from the NEC, at least people that are specialists in different areas that could come and help us with a seminar. Now, I saw online there's a Help I'm a Parent resource package. It's something that had been promoted in the United States. And I mean, if we could have had something like that here, that would have been great. But I do think we would need people to kind of take over some of the sessions for discussion that are experts in it. Because I think if we ourselves do it, when I say we, I mean me, until I get a team, people might not be as responsive. They might not as open up as much, because, this is Livette talking to them about this, rather than someone that might have had a lot more experience than having a 9-month-old telling them about practical ways that they could do things. So I wondered if, one, you had any access to resources for people that can do a seminar on, well, relationships. That's something separate, and one for children. Not really for the children, but for the parents of the children.
Well, what I can say to you, Livette, and to everybody really what's online, they're certainly within the department itself. Over the years, we've been building up stuff, so we do have a lot of resources. However, in addition to that, in addition to those resources, we have a kind of range of different people with a different skill sets as well. So the first thing you need to probably do is make contact with us. If if you actually make contact with us, we can then, you know, furnish you with that information and actually give you these key people and help you in your planning. And there are people dotted around. Plus, we have an advisory team which we are building up. I'm happy to say Natalie's on the team. So is Beverly, who's managing today from our one of the other areas, and also Lynn as well from Area 1. And we are developing that. One thing I would also say, didn't say it at the beginning, but I think it's important to say it probably at this point now where everybody's on. Because it's a new conference term, we are looking to build up and extend our advisory team. A couple of them aren't on today, but we want to build across the areas because they will also help as we gather together resources for you to actually, some of them will be prepared to come to speak as well, for example. So, because they have their own specialists in areas. So what I'm saying, the resources is out there. What you do need to do is contact us, but I'm also looking for some individuals, and maybe some of you may be from this group here, I don't know. If you would be interested in becoming part of the Conference Family Ministries Advisory Team, where basically we don't meet every month, but we are wanting to look at how can we, I guess, guide the church across the conference. And I'm trying to look for different people with different skill sets across the areas. Please get in touch with us. I'm not asking you to say here, but get in touch with us because, you know, we can then have those conversations and see if it is a fit for you. That is one thing. But in answer to your question, Yvette, no, we do have the resources. We do have some individuals which I know would definitely help you. And I would really, you know, get in touch with, obviously, out of this, and we can help you with that. And indeed, others as well. So please, that's what we're here for. Please come and talk to us. Of course, you know, I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to get around to churches, but we can't do everything. Mm-hmm. But there is a lot of people out there and a lot of things. So if you've got something specifically you want to do, get in touch, and we will, you know, off this platform, you know, I'll give you that support and what you need. Yvette, you asking another question or sorry?
Yeah, I am. Thanks. Thank you for that. So, well, one, would you be able to please share your contact information on the chat maybe? And two, I noticed last year I had been looking through the Family Life website and there had been some leaflets on different things like loneliness, grief, spouse, worship, that kind of thing. But I'm not seeing that that's available now unless I don't know where to look for it. I wondered if you had these leaflets, is there a way that we could get a couple printed copies to our churches? Because I think that would be really helpful.
We have actually produced some resources. When I've been going around to church, we've been taking some samples across, and you can order some to distribution as well. What we do in the email address will be put in the chat, but if you contact the NEC office as well, you can get hold of us. When this seminar is finished, I'm going to be sending you some contact information, so you'll have some numbers there that you can reach us on as well. In terms of those resources, I wanted to share when we've had some discussion time. I'm gonna put up the new site for you to see so we can look at it. I must admit it's a great site because it meets the community needs more. But in that transition to the new site, I've realised that one or two things, like you said, we may have had on before, which have got lost and are being added slowly as we go on. So I think that's what's caused the problem, because we've moved websites. Some of the stuff, even though it was all sent initially,
Still on, Timothy.
but we're working on that. And what I'm trying to do is produce a new sort of resource pack. So this is not going to happen overnight, but what we're trying to do in the next couple of months, produce like a resource pack so we can send you out at least a leaflet with all the different resources and books and materials that we have available. Because if I have any books from the department and you order them through us rather than even the press, you're going to get them cheaper anyway, because that's what we're here for, to subsidize, to help you, to resource you. And sometimes it's about sending the links for you as well, that you can, you know, get some help. So that is something we want to work on. doing that resource pack. So thank you for that. But unfortunately, the website change has caused a problem with some of those resources. So we have to do a little bit more work on that. I put in the chat, you know, my email address is there. And also we have the family one as well, which we'll send you as well, that you can contact us on. And by all means, ring the conference office, speak to my secretary if I'm not available. And, you know, once you leave a message or email us, even if you use the admin one, we will come back to you as soon as we can and be there, because that's what it's there for. And we need you to share as well. I need you to share your ideas and stuff and thoughts you have. Was there any other questions I'm missing here, Natal or Lynn or Beverly? No? Was that it? Okay.
So has anybody else got anything to share in the way of successes for those who have done family ministries before? Anything that's worked well?
I would like to share something. We didn't start very well last year, of which I didn't have a team, but now at least I've got someone to work with, a team to work with. Now, we didn't start well because, like as Pastor mentioned, that sometimes the family life ministries, they put it at the end of the, you know, they don't put it as something that is important in church. Like last year we didn't, we at the beginning of the year, but in the mid of the year, of which when that time I was like not feeling well, like spiritually, because I wasn't happy the way things were done, not supporting other departments. But then in the mid of the year, that's whereby I'm like, okay, you know what, this is a work of God. So let me just look for someone to help, and of which me and Bev are doing so well now at this moment. And towards the mid, at least we started to pick up. Towards the end, we've ended with a good closing for 2024, of which now we're looking forward for 2025 for this year to make things happen in our church, because so many things that are happening, and of which I was supposed to call you anyway. I will call you, Pastor, later anyway, maybe later in a week, because there are some things that we really cannot do as a family life. They just need the pastor for us to be a family life ministry pastor to help us in those aspects that we are struggling with according to families and everything. As this year, at least I thank God for that, because I've managed to just push it that this time, the family life week, we are going to have it. Thank God we are going to have it. It's ours. We're having this day. It's not going to be at the end of whatever. And sometimes you try to put your dates for this and you don't get them. And, you know, so many things have been happening. But I thank God that this year is a promising year in that side of the family life, for families and for everything, for our children, for everyone that is struggling in our church. But I have that thing in my heart that things will just be well this year.
Amen. Yeah, thank you, Noki. Noki, it's good to hear from you. We'll definitely chat. Thanks for sharing. And you know, wherever we are, it's good to be growing, and that's the thing. You know, things may not always go as we like them to do, but as we start to grow, great things happen. I can see, is it Tendi, and I will let Jella, yes, from Chesterfield as well. And Tendi, you had your hand up first, I think. Tendai, yes.
Yes, thank you, Pastor. Maybe a tip which I can give to everybody who's a family life leader here is try to work with other departments. It does work very well. Last year, I worked with a few departments with the few things which we did for family life. I remember, Pastor, you came and you helped us with End It Now, but that day was not actually a family life day. It was women's ministry. So the family life, we we did a presentation in the afternoon under the banner of Family Life, but actually it was a Women's Ministry Day. They handed us over the End It Now program to host, and it went very well. We've also done things with the youth. We set up a day, a family fun day with the youth ministry, and it does lessen the burden of you planning, of you trying to get resources and all those things. So if you try to work with other departments, it does, make it more effective. And it also brings this sense of unity within departments rather than, we have this kind of thing where we say, it's my department. It's not your department. It's the church department. So you have to work with other leaders so that things, so that things can progress. It's just advice, and it works for me. It might not work for you, but try it and you'll find it's really useful.
Just remind me of your church that you're from, please.
Campio.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Aurelia, I'm saying your name right?
Aurelia. Yeah.
Lovely name.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to share. I mean, once again, I'm Women's Ministries, but one thing that we were talking about finding out people's needs and finding different ways, and I know service is one thing that we discussed, but the very first meeting that we did, because I think our vision was sort of to do more of a ongoing support group for ladies to come, and rather than looking at planning specific events, we were just kind of trying to be consistent with one thing in terms of group. And one exercise that we used as an icebreaker, I could say, but that was very useful. And it almost worked like a survey in the sense, in a hidden way. The exercise is called stress container exercise. And those who have done the mental health first aiders course, that's where we've taken it from. I remembered it from first aiders course. And it was so simple. It's just, you can actually find handouts that has got a container with the tap on that is drawn in, but it doesn't have to be like that. But in a sense, you write down all the things that stress you out. And where the tap is, you write down the things that could be possible solutions to those things. And we just shared in between, some ladies were able to share, one thing or a couple of things of what's actually stressing them out at the moment, And it was amazing to see that one lady would say, well, one young lady would say, I haven't got a job. I need to find a job. I don't have any money. And then next week we had an elderly lady. Next week, he had an elderly lady who came and went to picked up a form from the local care home and gave it to her and said, listen, this is the application form, for you to get a job. It is just amazingly simple thing, an icebreaker exercise, that was just allowing people to tell, what's stressing them out at the moment. And people would just open up. It was nice glimpse to see what potentially are the needs of people.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for sharing that. Maybe you could share that material as well with us at some point, and then we can have a look. But it different things. I know we've used different things. It's good to find ways of opening up discussion, and sometimes by opening up a discussion, things happen. I'm seeing some of the messages as well. I know somebody's joined from other meetings. Don't worry, all the material will be sent, and the recordings, the communication department will edit them afterwards, and we'll be sending those out to all of you. So you will get that material from today, even if you've missed some of it. I see Carol Squires. Yes, Carol, welcome. You've got a question or?
Yes, it's just an idea. So myself and Horace were elected as family ministries this year, and sadly, we haven't really done anything untoward that department because we've got Sabbath school. He's also got elder and prayer ministries and safeguarding. But what I found in our church recently is we've have a lot of adult mature students who have come from Nigeria and wherever. And so their main priority is to pay for their education. So they've been working round the clock, paying, to pay for the fees, also to pay the high rents that the landlords have been charging them. So one of the things, the children miss out on having toys, etc. So what we've been doing, myself and Horace, as just as a peer at the minute, because we don't have a team or anything, we've been like collecting toys and anything that we have that we can give to some of these families, to give to the children. It could be bedding, it could be, I belong to a fostering WhatsApp group, and sometimes things are being given away like push chairs and toys, etc., piano even, and I've put it on our church group, and we'll make sure that any families that are interested, that they'll get these items. So we've been picking up furniture and toys and bedding and what have you to help these families. So then I thought, well, we haven't done anything in family life really. But then thinking back, I think, well, we have really. We've been supporting families with things that they need, and also going into school for one family when they had issues with their child in school, and they were afraid that their child was going to be taken into care. So we've supported them in that way. So, just encouraging us all, whatever little we can do to help these families, let's do it to God's glory and honor. Thank you.
Lincoln you're from, isn't it, Carol? Yeah? Lincoln.
Yes.
Well, we should have said at the very beginning, I normally do this, and I just realised that one or two of you have done it, only a couple, I think. It's good when you give us your name and the church. It does help us a little bit. Shane, which church are you from, Shane?
Good morning, everyone. I'm from Sheffield, Burnbury.
Sheffield. All right, Burnbury.
I think you've recently been at our church, and I think what you found there was the environment and atmosphere we're trying to create as family life. Like one sister said, work with nearly every department. We coordinate very well with a lot of other departments, and I think one of what we can turn around and say our biggest successes is we've managed to create a family feeling within the whole church, where everyone is involved. And how we approached it, my wife and I, this is our second term as family life, is we looked at the dynamics of our church. It's so diverse now. It's got people from all over the world. So our starting point was we visited the formation of our family life team. And we realized that we had to have a representation from every region of the world. We had to have a member from nearly every region of the world, so that ideas and approaches can all be put together, so that we can cater for the whole church. So this has worked a lot, very well for us. That even I think Pastor and my dear sister there, when you came, even they spread the food. It was from across the world. We've got people from India, people from Kenya, people from Southern Africa, people from West Africa, people from the West Indies, people from the UK, people from India, everywhere. So we have worked with everyone. I think our biggest challenge initially was that we've got a very huge, because Sheffield has got 2 universities, so we get a lot of students, SDA students. At the moment, on record, we've got more than 60 students who come in fellowship. But so also lunch, we make sure we coordinate with community services, we coordinate with everything, so that every Sabbath there is lunch for the whole church. But it's now because we engage everyone from all the other regions. We've got a fantastic bring and share. So it has really worked out very well for us. We work with the children's department, we work with the youth, we work with men's ministries, we work with everyone. because we believe at Bengal, they believe that the family is the center of the church. So family life should play a very important role within the church. It has really worked out for us, and we look forward to. We organize sometimes evenings when where we just bring and share and we chat, we discuss and all that. And on our allocated family life days, we always try to invite an external speaker whom we know has got ideas which are different to what we have. And it has worked fantastically. Our afternoon program sessions extend even as late as 7 p.m. because people don't want to go there really sharing. So it's like it's just about realizing your local needs, the local church, what it needs, and your local community. So it has really worked very well for us.
Thank you so much, Shane, for sharing. And I think what that also taught us is that, you know, and as you say, it's your second year, so that gives you a little bit of, you know, ups to move things forward. The more the longer we've done it, the greater the experience. But it just shows that you can use different things to do it, and that's why I want to give you guys the opportunity to share some of these things, because this really all helps us in our growth. And it's about trying to find ways. And also, please, I want to encourage you guys to share your pictures, share some of your stories that we can share across the conference, and that I can share the more realistic way. Just to encourage one another, because there are so many things people don't know what's happening, and that can encourage. We can pray and encourage one another. Carol, I think you spoke. Did you have another comment you was making, or is it your hand still up? Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen everyone now.
Sorry, I need to put my hand down.
No worries. It's okay. It's okay. It's me. Yeah. So what I just want to just quickly do, and I'm hoping this is going to work. Yeah, share my screen. This in front of you now is the new website for the church. I can see a lot of things are showing. I don't see if right. So as you can see, the address is necadventist.uk. You'll notice we've changed our website. So when you first go on your page, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see that's your home page. If you want the counseling service, by the way, you will go into Grow. So Grow takes you right to the counseling service, and if you click on there, you'll see there's a range of things around the service. What the service offers covers depression, relationships, trauma, faith, who we can help. It's going to have a little bit about the adults, adolescents, and couples, and some of the fee structures, what are there. And there are also some links as you go in. We have put some links, but you need to just extend the page a little bit. And you can also go from here to the family ministries department as well. That is another way you can go. But I'm going to go back to home for now. The main thing today is to show you the family. So what you do, you'll see you've got Home, Grow, Discover, and then you've got About. And in the About section, you'll have your beliefs, who we are, because remember, it's aimed at the community as well. And you'll have your department. If you click on department, you'll see all our members, our president, our secretary, and treasurer. And then as you scroll down, you'll get to the directors and sponsor section. And you'll go into the, I'm going to just highlight family ministries now, because that's what we're mainly concerned with today. And we are, that is really our opening page. A little bit about us again. Looking at some dates, we've actually put some of the dates now, what we are, and we're going to add the resource book to there as well, because it's not actually been on there before, but that is there. Our family ministries resources we have, so you can download it, Understanding Diverse Families. You can actually, we've altered the page slightly, but you'll notice there's some helpful links at the bottom. So you've got one of the days we've done, safeguarding, 31.8. Got those links there, and you've also got some numbers that you can do, and also some resources at the bottom, some key resource lines, and some videos that you can access. So there's something premarital, we add in, you know, something on marriage, something on illusion of love, healthy relationships, sexuality. We're going to continue to add different links that you can go on. That's some of our previous programs we did for the Christian Home and Marriage Week. So protected families, you've got a range of topics there. You can click on them. Your mental health resources, resilient resources, and right at the bottom, you've got some helps with children. So, for example, on resilient children, there is, if I remember there, a PowerPoint. Let's hope it comes up. So, yeah, you've got something there to guide you with raising resilient children. You with me? So, 1 or 2 PowerPoints like that have been put up on the site. So, you can access all those things. So I'm going to just stop the share now, but you can go on. What I would encourage you to do, go on, keep going onto that web page. We are going to add things. There's also a bulletin which the BUC produces every month. We're going to be putting that on, which the last one we did in December looked more on safeguarding. So we'll put all those things up, and we'll keep adding, and we'll put some of our resources up there. I know some things I did notice as sister had been saying, some of our leaflets don't seem to be there at the moment. It's since we've upgraded, but we'll start to add all those things back onto the site. So what I'm saying, all of those things will be done, and we will eventually get some of these things back on the site again that you can actually have access to. So we are constantly working on this. So what I'm saying, please keep going onto it. Please keep looking at what's on there. There may be some things you send us that we'll add on there, that I'll add on there. So it's a work in progress, and bear with us because we have upgraded the site. That's what's caused a few glitches, but we are working with it and slowly trying to sort of get things a little bit more back up and running. And as we go on, and the good thing is this can be used for the community as well. It's not just for us. We have a community aspect to that web page, which I think is really, really good. Okay, so we're going to go back to our PowerPoint as we sort of wrap this up. I hope this has been helpful to you so far, and also gaining some experience in some other folks as well. So what we're going to try and do is see if we can, yes, it's coming back again now, hopefully.
So has everybody, okay, everybody happy? Everybody had the opportunity to share if you wanted to share, or anybody else want to say anything before we move on? Because we are going to be moving on. Yeah, so I think everyone's happy. Okay. Okay, so if I have a little bit of sharing time, we can spend a little bit more on that. Some tools and methods for family evangelism. Now, part and parcel of the Family Ministries Department isn't just what we can do in the church, but it's what we can do in the community, isn't it? And there is a program, which again, I think we're going to actually add to the website from the GC, but I'll make sure it's on ours as well, called Family to Family Outreach. And the basic, without going into the basics of all of this program now, just to sort of let you know, it's around befriending a family and working with a family for a whole year. And that's how we, you know, interact with someone and bring somebody to faith, not just presenting doctrines, but befriending them and relationships and building. But these are, I guess on here is just some tools that you can also use and methods for evangelism. I mean, one example is parenting classes. So for example, if you're in an area where you've got a lot of single parents, that would be a great thing to run. And there's a lot of resources available on that. Run local parenting classes for the parents. Marriage enrichment, we do that for marriage weekends or marriage seminars locally in the church as well. 13 Sabbath programs is a way you can bring, as they come together, the kids come together, how can we make those more family oriented?
well, it used to be known as VBS, Vacation Bible School, but there are various activities sometimes church have been doing in the summer groups. I like some of these things: athletic events, singles events, Jubilee celebration, Christmas carols, nativity, community projects, church socials, banquets, outings. There are so many things, isn't there, that we can do, and all of them can have different impacts in terms of reaching our family. And the main thing is to kind of, I guess, use these programs and events to engage the community and find what works for you. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's about finding things that you can use. Food always draws people, doesn't it? So in the summer, maybe doing like a barbecue or something, bringing people, find a way, a family fun day, for example, on the park. I don't know, I'm thinking that fun day we did we had a family week one time in Nottingham years ago. And we had a speaker throughout the week. But he covered, I guess, a range of, from marriage to singles to teenagers to parents, a range of topics throughout the week. And then on the Sunday, we went to a local park. And we've organised it with the community, and we had health ministries with the fitness tents, we had a prayer tent, we had a book resources, we had so many different activities, some for the youth, different activities going on, bouncy castle, all of these things. Loads of people came to the community, even the community parks that had never had that park so full. People engaged. So what I'm saying, and that really was a highlight of our week, but it got the community involved as well, and then we had a special marriage vows at the church as well at the end for couples and stuff. But so there's a lot of things you can do. I can see some questions are coming. Livette, yes?
Yeah, so last year, what I had done, so I did a family day that was also merged with a health fair last year. So this was when I didn't have a department. I did it under community service, and it was a spectacular event. When I say that, I mean, we had over 150 people coming, and it wasn't just from the church, it was from the community as well. But it's about collaborating with other departments. So, I mean, again, you talk about total member involvement. I didn't have a department at that point, but then I approached community services, I approached health, and then we were able to do this together. And so having a health fair, so having a fun day is a great way to have everybody from all ages coming across and not just sitting and cheering people on. You've got something else that people could do who's concerned about their health. So I think if we could probably put two things together when we're doing that fun day, would be a really, really good idea. And also, if you've got resources for additional gazebos or marquees, I'd be happy to know about them.
Thank you. Yes, me and you need to talk. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's really, really helpful. Somebody's put in the chat, which I think is really good, is the VBS, and they've linked it up with Smart Love and Coming of Age, a family ministries program or children's department. Yes, and this is it. You can mix the departments together. Because bear in mind, family ministries traditionally, from that you have your women's, your men's, your children's. It's all part. So as you work together, that is what is really important. So I actually think that is something we need to do. Has anyone else got anything they want to share at this point before we move on? Okay, no, all right. Okay.
So it says here about advertising your event. So 5 questions. What are you offering? Be very clear of what you are offering. Be clear on who's invited. When will the event be held? Where will the event be held? And why will people benefit? I think that's the key to me, because I think we said before, if there's some free food, that's always a good draw. People will come. If there's free food, they will come. So make sure that you try to, if you can, get the church behind you and get that budget sorted so that you can offer them something. Because once you've got your event and it's given plenty of time to advertise it, and it's something, I think ultimately it's something that people need or want, they will come. They will ultimately come. And I think if we can remember that everything we do should be evangelistic in nature. So yes, we are trying to do things to support our church members and help them and strengthen their family relationships. But sometimes it's good to say, if you have neighbours or friends or family who aren't regular church members, but let them know that they can come and benefit. That's what it's about. It's not just about, as it were, feeding yourself as a church, but extending this out to others. So where possible, try to make sure you do try to extend it out to others outside of the church, as it were.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. So that is a very clear key slide, that, because what you're offering, who is invited, when will the event be held, where will the event be held, and why will people benefit? That helps you in your planning. It helps you to coordinate things and sort of bring things together. I think that's really key. If you can remember those things, I think that will be beneficial to you. Yeah. Question and answer time. So there may be some questions some of you have or thoughts you want to share. This is the time to do it. Is there anything anybody wants to ask? Because we're sort of wrapping up now.
It's me again. Sorry, yeah, it's Aurelia from Chesterfield Church. Just wanted to ask, I know, I find that we can do events in two different ways, and having a few different strategies. Either we could have one-off events where we're trying to bring some experts on the subjects that could be talking about marriage, could be talking about parenting and so forth. But the thing is, and I know you said that you've got people who, a list of people who could help us with those things. But in reality, I think the model that I was thinking more is more of like a support group model where there's consistency in terms of almost meeting either every week or every month or something like that. And for that, you're not going to always have that speaker, a special speaker expert. Do you have any tips, how we could run maybe a simplified version, because we're not experts in these subjects and you've given us resources on many different things, but how we can do it in a way where we don't feel like, because we're not experts in some of these subjects, but we would like to create a space to talk about these subjects for the community as well as, for the people from the church. Do you have any tips in terms of following this kind of strategy?
Yeah, I think what you said there is really, really good idea, because sometimes I think what you're trying to say, when we're doing these programs as a large church, there's somebody coming in and there's a whole large church, people don't feel at ease to be able to talk and to share. So what I think one of the best ways to go forward with this is I think you've already said you've got a small group, you've had a small group of women come together, women who are young parents. Say if we've got your young mothers together, or anyone who's a parent can come together. I know it's been done in quite a few churches where you say we're going to meet once every 2 weeks, whatever the time frame's going to be, either once every 2 weeks, once a week, whatever it is. You set the time, you send out the Zoom details, and then as a group, what has been useful is if most people can have the book Adventist Home, you'll find it's so helpful in giving lots of really good advice. It's good for we always try to encourage people who are not quite married but they're engaged to read Adventist Home. But it's also good for parenting as well, on how to parent. It's got some really useful tips. So what's been done before is where you would all get the book, you all read that one chapter, and they're very short chapters, very short. And then you come together And then you have one person to lead that session each week, and then you're basically just sharing what you got from reading that chapter. And you will find something like that is very, very helpful.
I think Donald's saying there is really good. I mean, that's really a great thing. We also have there's a lot of other books and resources on various things you can do if you want to do book reviews. But as for also family life educators as well, there is a tremendous amount of material we have on maybe human development, child stuff, and some of it is broken down into like seminar formats. And there is also within that material some tips for starting discussion groups. So what I'm saying, if you contact the department, what we can do is we can, depending on the area you're looking at, we can sometimes help send you that sort of information as well, that you could, it will help support your group. So it's not always just bringing people in. Sometimes there are things you can develop from the material which is already there. And what I'm saying, there is the material there. And part of it also does come in. I mentioned at the beginning, the BUC 10 module family development, some of the materials within those kind of trainings as well, which is made available to you, can be made available to you as family life ministries leaders, because it's all part of your development. And maybe as well, what may also help you, if you want a bit of more confidence of building things, is maybe this is something, I'd be prepared to go and reach with you, on occasions. Can't do that often, but we could perhaps maybe quarterly get together sometimes, have a few reviews, or remember within the team, and when we say the team, we mean you as leaders of the church. They're people who have done things before, very specialized. Some of that can be shared, and we can talk with you of how you can develop your programs better. But sometimes it is about beginning. You cannot, I'm not one person who believes you just come and do a program, because if a program is done, the question needs to be asked, what is the follow-up to that? That is, it's not just one-off events, it's developing something, and you only develop by setting up these groups. But what I'm trying to say to you, we can help supply, I can supply you some materials which could help even in those areas with the human development, with other things, parenting. There's a lot on parenting styles and all these kind of things. And you could break that down. It would work better sometimes breaking it down into bite-sized segments that you can discuss and share, and then parents will discuss it and say, I'm just using that as one example. That's how you do it. So
thank you.
It's really important. So I hope that does help. But let's keep having those conversations, definitely, on this. Definitely. I think Beverly, you had your hand up and you'll have to help us.
Oh, let's do that then. Do Beverly after. I do.
Hi.
Yes, Beverly. Yes.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yes, so well, I'm Beverly. I'm from Hollisty, and I also help with the Family Life Committee. And I just wanted to say two things. One of them kind of spoke to the collaboration of committees, and for our church as well. This year, end of 2024, we had a church banquet and concert, which sort of brought together both our family life department and our music department, which worked really well. And so we got both groups kind of lending all their support, time and energies to it. And it really caused it to be a blessing. We had a huge, a lot of the members came out and we really enjoyed it, as well as at the banquet, we sort of made it twofold, where we sort of had like a panel as well, and we allowed people to ask questions, and so we had discussions. Pastor was there. We also had someone else who was in family life, and they were able to answer questions. And there were some really important discussions that came up that we can now use as we go into 2025 to sort of form like themes and topics. Another thing that we use as Family Life / Women's Ministries, we sort of started a group with the women. So it started off really simply. And I just wanted to kind of drive home the importance of relationship. right? So it sort of just started off as some of the women coming together, invited some of the women to come together just to have like an evening of prayer and rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. So we invited like this lady who did facials. And so she kind of walked the woman through an entire like facial and so on. And during that time, so it's like the women were able to have that facial time. They were having fun, they were laughing, talking, and then as well in the end, so then we also had an opportunity to share different issues that we may had. It was sort of a safe space. And so the women all shared issues that they had, things that they wanted to pray for, and not just for themselves, obviously, but also for their families, their children. And the lady that was there who was doing the facials, she wasn't a Seventh-day Adventist. She wasn't part of the community at all. And so she was so happy to be there and so impressed by just the discussion that we were having. She also joined in and she also added her prayer requests to the list for her family as well. And so that was the first session that we had. And the women were just clamoring and asking for when is the next one at the end of that. And so at the end of the following month, we had like a chapati making session. So one of the women would have taught all the others how to do chapati. But it wasn't just that. It's like the beginning of a community. So there's talking, there's laughing. And at the beginning of it as well, we have prayer, we have discussions, and so many things have come out. So many hurts and pains and aches have come out in these sessions that it's just been amazing. And so we now know, Sister Namkita and myself, so many areas that we need to now tap into in the year 2025 as we move forward. And also coming out of that, we've been able to also form other groups because of the women's sort of involvement. So now we've been able to really support and strengthen the women bringing meals on Sabbath as a result of that, because we were able to form a group of community of people who want to now help a lot more. And then now we also have a prayer group coming out of that. So it just goes to show how even just, it doesn't always have to be like, okay, we're meeting to solve this issue. It's really sometimes about coming together as a group to do something, to learn about something together, have some fun together. And then out of that, there's so much that can grow. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. I see the True Damin, is it Brown? You had your hand up.
Trudy and Brown.
Trudy and Brown. Sorry, Trudy, yeah.
Yes, I'm Trudy and Brown. I'm from Derby Bethel. I've been hearing a lot of good advice, and one of the things I would like to ask, because I've experienced before where you're in a department and you felt like other department just don't want to, combine with you, join with you, and sometimes you feel so alone when you're trying to get together, because I've experienced in the personal ministry department. And so how do you really get all of the department to really come together? Because I've heard one gentleman share that working together with other department is really good. But sometimes you find out that every department is trying to just do their own thing. And when you're trying to, combine with other departments, it's really difficult, because I'm also assisting the woman ministry. So some of these points are really valid points to actually to use with the woman ministry department. But it's just to get everybody work together sometime as a team. It's really hard and difficult to get everybody to come together. And so sometimes you feel like, oh, you can't. You just feel so down sometimes in continuing what you're doing. But I've heard a lady mention this morning that at one point she was feeling like she don't feel like she want to do what she was called to do, but then she remind herself. And I reached that point as well, at one point, like for instance, the 10-minute spot, I felt like every Sabbath morning I have to go up and do the 10-minute spot when the other department where you are saying you can come, you can share, but nobody want to really share or to take up even just a 10-minute spot. It's like the burden was just on the personal ministry as a leader.
It is sometimes a challenge, and I wouldn't want to say that it's something can be resolved overnight. But what I would say, it's about finding those areas we can try, even if it's just one thing. And it's a process. You just got to keep working at it. The thing is, never give up.
Yeah.
Never give up, and let us just keep working, and work also. Have good communication with the ministerial team, which is really important, which I think is your pastor, your eldership. And sometimes you can find things, because I remember when that's what I want to say. I'm not just talking from theory. We have been where you have been. I've been, both myself and my wife has been where you've been in the past. And sometimes I know it's by getting some of the leadership on board, that is what helps to change it. And we've had our battles, but eventually, as things have started to happen and they've seen that's worked really well, oh, this is good. This is something maybe we want to adopt as a church now. So it's a process. So one thing, don't give up. Just keep knocking on those doors, doing what you can. That's all you can do. You can't do more than what you can. I also did see there was something about the singles, and I'm pleased Natala's put something up there, because yes, Natala runs the SAS Ministries, and we have been helping sponsor some of that. We want to extend that a little bit at the moment, because the plan is, from the departmental point of view, to have some physical meetings. That's what some people have. I know that's all online, but we try to do some physical things that the singles can do. And ministering, bear in mind, within the singles department, we have single, we have widow single, divorce single. There's so many other aspects to the different singles, and it's ministering to those needs. And we also want it's no good just married people who's trying to help run it. We need some single people to come on board to get involved as well. And that's why we're trying to facilitate those discussions, and so that hopefully can then be modeled across other aspects of the conference. It may initially start in one area, but then develop. I think the plan. I don't know if Natala, you'd like to say something on that, but
I mean, with regards to the book club, mainly it is for singles. We've just started rereading another book called The 5 Love Languages of Single People. I am willing to open it up to everyone. However, it is mainly for singles. So if you know you are married and you are going to join, please bring a single person with you. The other thing that we're trying to do is to work on broken relationships, because what we found is, if as a single person, if you are not able to get that healing for yourself, you will end up going into a relationship where it's going to be 2 broken people having a broken couple, rather than 2 people becoming whole. And so we're doing that. What I will do, I will put my mobile number in the chat, and then if when we start the Zoom, because that's where I'll get the Zoom link invitation, I'll send that out to everyone that has messaged me. But if you are married, please put that you are married in by your name, or I did let me know that you are married. And the reason why I say that is, what we don't want to facilitate in the group is that the married people come on, they're having issues in their relationship, and they see someone single, and we end up facilitating the breakdown of a marriage because they've gone and become emotionally attached to somebody else in that's single, who's looking for a relationship. So that's why we try not to tend to have married people on. But we are if there's stuff that the married person can give, like that information that we as singles won't know, because either we're long time divorced or never been married, or for whatever reason, that would be helpful. and then that way it can grow.
Thank you. So, yeah, I maybe as a department, we need to find a way to facilitate, you know, say if it's privately want to give you a number, that's fine, but they can also come from the department as well.
Yeah.
You know, we want to take you as well with that as well. But in terms, but what I'm saying, we're working on this, and it's something we want to develop, you know, and so everybody gets supported. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. I can see a lot of stuff has come out on forgiveness and reconciliation. There are some programs on that. We hear your support. I can see the comments in the chat, and that's something we, you know, please again come and talk to us, because that material is very important, and that fulfills a lot of the theme on restoration. Somebody did ask a question, may not be able to answer all of that here now because of time, but if I can read it, with the ever-changing dynamics of modern families, such as the rise in blended families, single-parent households, and cultural diversity, what are some of the key challenges that the Family Life Department faces in providing inclusive and effective support? And additionally, how do you ensure that your approach remains adaptable and culturally sensitive to meet the evolving needs of these families? And what I can say, that's a very, very good question, and you know, I guess over the time it will be fully answered a little bit more, but I agree with you, there are a lot of dynamics. It isn't easy, and we cannot necessarily always have a full answer for everything, particularly when it comes to sexual orientation and that. There's not always a clear, but it's about discussing the issues. I think as a department generally, Family Ministries is head on in facing some of these things. We need to have more open discussions. We need to, as we said right at the beginning, be adaptive to the different needs we have in our church. And each church is different. That's why I'm saying you cannot say one size fits all. And that's why we said at the beginning, and I'll reiterate it again, doing that survey of your church is so important, because you have to look at your family dynamics, and that will probably affect the type of programs you deliver. So it's no good saying I'm going to be delivering the children's stuff if you haven't got any children in it. You know what I'm saying? You've got to work with them, and also try and be adaptive. And it's a work in progress. And I'm not saying all the time you're going to get it right, but it's about growing. But I think as a department, certainly a lot of these discussions we're having with the society is there. We try to face it. At the same time, one has to maintain what the biblical ideals are. It's not about not accepting people or welcoming people, but it's about the biblical ideals as well. So it's about getting that balance with upholding the biblical ideals. This is what God's ideal was. This is where we are today. But the beauty of the gospel and grace is God reaches all of us where we are, and God is in the business of restoring us to where He wants us to be. Does that make sense? And I think that is the beauty about all of that. And so we as family life educators have to try and work with all these different mediums and show the love of Christ in everything that we do. And that's what God has called us to do as leaders. And I think if we can keep that spirit and remember those things, we will be effective, and people will want to know a little bit more about the God we serve as well. And that is so, so important. And I guess really as a kind of closing conclusion to what we like to say to you is that, and this is really, really important, the more people learn and experience God's love, the more they will understand and learn about how to have healthy relationships and love each other. We are God's tools, I guess, to help His people experience and share more of His love. We don't do it alone. He is with us. That's the important thing. And God is able to, I guess, fulfill through us His grace when we are receptive to first learn His word, but secondly to be the men and women he wants us to be. And it is my prayer that you as leaders continue on that journey, and that God, you will grow. And sometimes we grow even through having challenging situations presented to us. But as we grow, that is what equips us to become effective leaders. And that's what our prayer is for all of you, that God will allow us to experience his love and his grace and grow in that experience. I can see, is there some things there, Natalia, you wanted to share from those comments? I can see a few other comments coming.
Yeah, so I've just spoken to one of my counterparts, and what we've decided to do as of this week, we're going to run book clubs simultaneously. So every other week, we're going to have it where it's singles only. But then the alternate weeks, we're going to have the married people come in as well. So we're going to create that link this evening and send it out to everybody who's sent me their numbers or who have contacted me on my mobile, so that I can make sure they have the link. Because what we've decided is it would be very valuable to have that input from the married people, because like I said earlier, we don't have that. Right, what we want is to have that open discussion where you're not in the sanctuary, and it's like, yeah, there's things that you might want to say that you don't necessarily say on the in church. Some of the things that I have heard and that I've witnessed come out in these Zooms, because we will read a chapter of a book or a few chapters of a book, but then it opens up a whole different range of things. And you've got single people out there that are walking through life thinking, well, married people think we're this, married people think we're that. And half the time when you speak to a married person, them thoughts haven't actually entered the married person's head. And so I think that there needs to be somewhere where they come together and speak, so we're going to facilitate that. So it's going to be more of a discussion where we will do the Adventist home, but that it will be a discussion for the married people to give that advice and hear what the people need. And if it's people that are here, family life leaders that are here, that want to come on and see what they can then do in their own individual churches, feel free.
We can share that as well. We'll share that link.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I see Michael also had his hand up. Did you want to ask a question, Michael?
Thank you so much, Pastor. I think I've got two things. The first one is that in my church here at Manchester Gorton, we had the Smart Lab, and we were also planning to have a meeting with one of the councillors who lives in London. At the time, we were targeting the singles in the church, but as we were doing that, we saw the family ministries department, and they had arranged a joint family ministries meeting that was done online. Do you remember that? I think it was from it was the North England Conference and the South England Conference.
We did do that last year.
Last year, that week. So we abandoned our plans, and then we said, okay, well, it was cheaper because he was charging us, so it was a bit expensive for us, but and the need is still there. So I'm sorry, Pastor, if you'd already mentioned what resources there that we can be able to have these people. Did you say you have a list? You have a list of people that we can.
What we suggested you to do is you need to contact us as a department, and we then can provide you with, depending on the program you're doing, links or at least places you can go to get information. Yeah. So initially in the first stage, you need to sort of contact us, and then we will be able to provide you with those resources as well. And because it's about equipping you, plus within the education material of, as I said, both the modules which the BUC are running at the moment, family education program, and other resources we have as the family life educator. There are materials in there on various topics that you can adapt and put in what we call bite-sized pieces if you want to do not just a seminar, but maybe some discussion groups as well. So all of that material is available. The Family and Ministries Department generally across the whole GC really is got a range of material. There's very little stuff that isn't out there, you know. So even if we don't physically hold everything here in the NEC, what I'm saying, it's possible to link you up with various things. That's what I'm saying. So please utilize that.
So the idea, Pastor, there is that we have the results and then we do it ourselves. We're not calling.
On some things, and then of course sometimes you will, you know, we'll come out. Different people will come out. There's people we can give you to help you with programs, but it's a mixture of collaboration. It's everything.
All right. Yeah, I did know that sometimes the members we've always seen each other, but when they get somebody else like a visitor, that's when it carries with it some impact, and, you know. So yeah, no, that's fine, Pastor. That's fine. That's understood. I think I will certainly have to do that because this is we just right at the beginning of this year. So we need really we've got a few needs in our church. And now the second point is about what Sister Natalie mentioned. I do know that there are a few forums for singles and this and that. But I don't know much about what Sister Natalie is actually talking about. Is it something that I would be able to refer some singles in my church? I don't want to belong to the group, but I have people who are interested in belonging to that group. Is it something that runs? How does it run? Is it like a support group, or is it somewhere where the singles are just talking? What exactly is it?
Well, maybe I should let Natalie answer that question. On Saturday Ministries, what they do, but Natalie can provide the department. Sorry, Natalie.
Yeah. It's a singles ministry which came together during the lockdown, the global lockdown, because we felt as single people we were the group that was left off. You had things for children, you had things for the families, you had things for the married couples, and you had things for the church as a whole, but you didn't have anything for those single individuals. So we all started checking up on each other, and then it grew because it was all by phone. Then we decided to do it by Zoom. SAS was originally part of another group. We broke away because we wanted to take the ministry into a different direction than where the original group was going. And since then, we've got our book club, we've got a health group, we have a single parents group, we have quite a few groups, right down to prayer. We do prayer meeting on a Thursday. We actually accidentally found out a couple of years ago that there was a lot of single people who weren't actually studying the Sabbath school lesson. So where we used to have presenters come on and give all these wonderful presentations, we decided that on a Friday night, we would study the lesson as a whole, and you could discuss it for as long as needed, and to make sure that you had studied your lesson. So when you went into church, you actually felt that you were able to share rather than just sitting there thinking, well, I haven't studied, I've got nothing to say. And so we make sure that people studied their lesson. We used to meet every Saturday night, but then what we then decided to do is stop that as things opened up, because people were then starting to do more things with their churches and go out with their friends and stuff. But we still kept the book club going. In February, we are going to start again our walk and talk Sundays. Because what we would do is go for a walk in your local area. Some people that were more adventurous, more athletic, went for a run. Some were doing miles, and the rest of us were just like going to the shops and doing your little things. But you'd have, if it was appropriate, because it wasn't always appropriate for you to have your camera on because of wherever you were going. So you'd have your camera on. If you were unable to go out for a walk. We'd invite you to walk around your home, but you don't have to have your camera on because you're walking around your home. And then we actually did have a exercise class, but that turned out to be women only because the men were like, no, we don't need the exercise. We've done our running. We was like, okay, we're not arguing. We'll let you go. But as the lady that was running that, she entered into a relationship that fell off. So we're starting again in February with our walk and talk. So for those of us that have pets, might be a good time to walk the dog and stuff like that. So but that's normally around I'd say lunchtime, because that would give people time to get up, get themselves sorted, and then go out. And then we'd have various discussions while talking. So yeah.
Okay, so we'll get a bit more information on the website about that because we started to do some links. But what we also want to do, as a department, is bring some physical things as well in meetings in various areas of the group. So that's something we're going to be working on, and more information will be sent as it progresses. Okay, so it's not all here now, but at least a start is there. And we'll work with the youth departments as well on this because this is something which is really, really important. It's getting near 1, so we're going to want to wrap up now. I can see Edward has got his hand. If you can make it quite brief, Edward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I was actually motivated by the lady who was speaking in line with the singles. I think having a singles group can actually develop the family ministries very well. From my past experience, they were actually like the barometer for the family life because they were exposed to seminars, they had WhatsApp groups as singles, and they were told that they were like a transition group which move from singles to married ones. And for those who are married, depending on situations such as death and the like, they are most likely to go there as singles again. So that group, if well motivated to carry out their activities, they are most likely to make this family ministries group or club or ministry group department very progressive and prosperous.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Edward. I would like to say that this. I'm glad you shared that because I think as a department, as we said right at the beginning, it is inclusive, yeah, and and that's why family ministries is so key, and it's about bringing all these groups together. Let's find that space. Let's find that time that we can actually have an impact in our churches and most of all in our communities, and that's what we want to suggest. So I want to just close by basically saying thank each of you for attending. I know a few have had to leave because of other things, and we said we tried to finish for 1. We've definitely got to finish now a little bit before, which is praise God. I want to thank you, and I want to encourage you to be those change makers. You are the ones which can make a difference, and you are the ones which can make an impact. And we do this by following some of the things that have been shared, following some of the principles. And I want to encourage you again, please get that survey done. We will also look at adapting it a bit. We've had a few good ideas shared at this platform as well. Get to know the needs of your church. We also have a survey of this training program. I would ask if Natal and also Lynn could put that back up again, because please do the surveys. Give us your comments, your thoughts, how we can improve, whatever. But I've tried to give you enough time to interact because I think it's important you can share some of your ideas. Please also bear in mind, share some of your stories when you have events, when you have programs. Share some of that with us, that we can also be able to see what is happening. Well, I can see what is happening across the conference. And I'm looking forward, obviously, to some of the churches over this 4 years to be coming to obviously take part in some of your programs, certainly in your areas, and we develop together, what do you say? And by God's grace, great things can be accomplished. So continue to interact with us, keep in touch with us, and let us grow together. With that, I'm just going to close in prayer, and I'm going to stop the recording for any general goodbyes we want to do. Let us just bow our heads together as we close this session. Lord, we just want to thank you for the opportunity we've had to share. I want to thank you for each leader, and I want you to pray for each family and each situation, that you will inspire them and encourage them by your Spirit to be effective in their churches. Where there are challenges, Lord, you are God of our challenges, and you've just called us to surrender our time and our energies to you. So bless them as leaders. Let this department grow and allow it to inspire hope and instill grace into all our relationships and situations, we pray. But we ask these things now in Jesus' name. Amen.